Hey, everybody, it's Abraham DeWeese from Seattle Sports Union, once again with the SoCal Seahawk, Rob English. Rob, after yesterday's Seahawk victory in overtime, how's your heart doing? How's the old ticker?
Well, I did have to take a bit of a rest. I don't think that I even started watching the Sunday night game till about at least most of the way through the first quarter, because I just needed to take a break from football for a while after that. So yes, it was definitely hard on the old heart.
I felt very much the same way, and I'm just gonna come out and say it. This was probably the most exciting Seahawks game of the season. Maybe the most exciting in the last couple seasons, in my honest opinion. What do you think?
Definitely the most exciting of the season. I mean, it's not the first time that it's gone down to the wire. I mean, just about every game, with the exception of the Cardinals game, has gone down to the wire this year, really. But I mean, there was so many big plays, so many almost, screw ups. I mean, it was definitely exciting. And really uncanny, really, because something about Tampa Bay, at least the last couple of times we played them at the Clink, apparently they are going to go up 2 or more scores on us, and then we're going to have to beat them in overtime. That apparently is the MO when we're playing Tampa at home.
It's compounded with that Tampa record, and you compound that with Todd Bowles, the defensive coordinator for the Buccaneers, and Bruce Arians, that head coach. Back when they were with the Cardinals, they used to beat us up here pretty regularly.
Yeah, they did. And actually, I was actually, quite worried about that. Arians apparently knows how to win at the Clink. And, granted that we aren't, it isn't, our home field advantage isn't as strong as it used to be. But, I'm thinking, okay, Arians knows how to come in here and coach his team. I know a lot of it falls on the execution of the players, but coaching makes a difference. And he almost got us again, but it was good to finally get one on him in our house.
Fascinating game yesterday. It was an offensive powerhouse versus another offensive powerhouse. Something that we haven't seen, in my humble opinion. We haven't seen the just all out aerial attack from a Seahawks team since the Mike Holmgren days, right?
It's been a while. I mean, and honestly, it's actually kind of strange to hear you say that. I mean, doesn't it kind of feel weird coming off your tongue when you say offensive powerhouse? When you say offensive powerhouse and you're talking about the Seahawks, it doesn't quite sound right. But but if you look at the numbers, we're right up there. And yeah, it's that's really what it was. It was 2 high-powered offenses, going punch for punch. And, whoever was able to get that last blow was going to be the one to do it. And we ended up being that one.
So I wrote this question down, Rob, and it sounds like your last statement agrees with this. Seahawks are number 4 on offense as far as total yardage in a game, per game, that is. And they're number 5 in scoring. They're scoring almost 28 points per game. Do these stats properly reflect the offense that's on the field? Because again, sometimes I have to rub my eyes and look again. Is this is not the Seahawks team from 4 or 5 years ago?
Not at all. And it's strange because we're the team from 4 or 5 years ago was so much better than this team, you would say, right?
Right.
But no, we're putting up numbers. And I think I've said in past seasons, maybe not, is either last year or the year before, in conversations between yourself and me, the team has kind of there's been a changing of the guard. It's been a team that rests on its defense, and the offense scores just enough points to win the game. But we flip-flopped. Now we are relying on Russell Wilson and the Seahawks offense to go out there and win games for us. And yeah, when you look at the numbers, I think it does reflect. We are playing Seahawk football, at least from the offensive standpoint, We're running the ball. We're doing a lot more throwing than I maybe would have imagined, but I'm happy to see it because we do have one Russell Wilson back there, and he can do it, and it's wonderful to see him actually, having getting the reins released a little bit.
Is this the Seahawk offense that Pete Carroll always wanted?
That's a tough question. You would think you want the most prolific offense possible, right? But I mean, if you look at the teams that we were winning championships with, NFC championships and Super Bowls, we were doing it with just a straight up, we're gonna run the ball. We're gonna let you know we're gonna run the ball. We're gonna line up, showing you that we're gonna run the ball, and we're gonna run the ball. And we did it, and we did it well, and through when we had to. And that's kind of what Pete has been, living on. And now we're still running the ball and now have this passing game. So, I mean, I guess you have to imagine you want the best team possible. So I'd say, yeah, I mean, I guess you want the best team possible for everybody.
Yeah, I kind of feel like they still have the running game that they've always wanted. The running game is there. Chris Carson went for 104 yards. Tampa has not allowed any 100-yard rushers this year. Number one rush defense in the NFL. And so we still have the rushing yards, but yeah, this aerial game to go with it. It seems, I know it might sound ludicrous to say, it seems like the perfect offense when it's clicking.
Absolutely. I do believe, and I'll say this, and it might sound a bit far-fetched to those types that aren't true Seahawk fans or aren't Seahawk fans at all. When this offense is clicking, is hitting on all cylinders, I don't know that there's a better offense out there. You know what I mean? We have a running game that is, I mean, what are we in the league right now as a team? I think we're top 2 or 3. I think Chris Carson is, after Sunday's performance, I think he's got to be in the top 5 still in total yards, rushing yards, I should say. So the running game is there, and Russell Wilson has just been absolutely amazing. I mean, if this is not the best Seahawk offense we've seen in I don't know how many years, then I've never seen the Seahawk offense before.
So they're only actually the 8th best rushing offense, but I want to temper that with the fact that the NFL has a lot of good running teams this year, because the Seahawks are at 131.7 rushing yards per game. In some years, Rob, that leads the league.
Right. Yeah, it's true. Absolutely. I'm pretty sure that I think we might have fallen a couple spots in the last couple weeks. I think at some point we were in the top 5, but yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, those are high numbers, regardless. I mean, yeah, it may not be league leading numbers at this point, but those are definitely high numbers just in general.
So I want to play a little game with you here, Rob. Let's go into the Wayback Machine, kind of like H.G. Wells' The Time Machine. We're going to get in the machine, we're going to pull the handle and go back in time and try to figure out, is there a better quarterback, running back, and wide receiver, 1 and 2? Has there ever been a quartet like this in Seahawk history? Russell Wilson, DK Metcalf, Tyler, and Carson.
Man,
I can't think of skill positions. This is a really hard exercise. I tried it this morning and I wanted to ask you because I couldn't come up with one.
If I had to say outside of our current one, I'd have to say Chris Warren, Brian Blades, and
Joey Galloway,
and then
who's
in my
QB?
opinion, my QB for the early '90s Seahawks. I mean, and you may disagree, but for me, it was Stan Gelbach.
Come on.
Oh yeah.
No.
Who else? Not Rick Meyer.
No, it wasn't Rick Meyer, but
you remember this is Chris Warren's Seahawks. So there was no Matt Hasselbeck. Okay, he wasn't there. Who's the quarterback?
Well, I could argue that the better pairings would have been Blades, Galloway, Kitna, and Warren.
You know what? Kitna. You're right. John Kitna.
Yeah.
John Kitna. Yeah.
But I don't know. I just, I'm going to have to say Russell Wilson's a hell of a lot better than John Kitna.
Of course. I mean, the current team is far and above better. But I was trying to find who else. I mean, who else is even getting an honorable mention?
It's a difficult exercise. Let's go back to the 2005 Super Bowl. That was Hasselbeck, Corden Robinson. Doggone it! What was the other receiver's name? Darrell Jackson. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course,
Mr. Sean Alexander himself.
Yes.
Number
37.
And Corden Robinson was nothing. I mean, Corden Robinson, I was never sold on Corden Robinson, and he was nothing compared to Tyler Lockett or DK Metcalf. So
actually, he is something compared to Tyler Lockett, because I have a handy little stat for you. As I wrote on my article on www.seattlesportsunion.com yesterday, Tyler Lockett actually just passed Corden Robinson for most career Seahawk yardage.
Corden Robinson.
Yeah, number nine on the all-time Seahawks list.
Yes, but how many years has Tyler Lockett been on the Seahawks, and how many years did Corden Robinson play for the Seahawks?
Tyler Lockett was drafted 4 years ago?
Okay.
Yeah.
And Corden Robinson played for.
I don't have those stats.
Come on, Abe, you got to have these numbers.
Sorry.
You got to have these numbers. That's very interesting. I mean, obviously, without looking it up, I would not have believed that, because I was never a big Corden Robinson fan. So that's very interesting to hear. I would have to. I think, gosh, wow, that's amazing. I did not know that.
I'll grant you this. How many of Lockett's catches and yards actually mattered versus the catches and yards that Corden Robinson ever got? Because I'm trying to think of any key signature plays that just come up in my head.
Right.
You know, I've got signature plays that come up in my head from Chris Warren, from Derek Fenner, from Daryl Turner. I mean, if we want to go back, but Corden Robinson just seemed like he was there. Yeah.
And I had to say that Corden Robinson also was, if I'm not mistaken, Corden Robinson was an all but immediate starter in that offense, was he not? Tyler Lockett, when we had Doug Baldwin, we had a couple receivers that were ahead of Lockett. So Lockett was a third guy and a other guy for a little while.
Yes.
He's worked his way up the depth chart to become now the primary receiver for this team. And so if my memory serves me as well as I hope it does, well, I think it does. I remember Corden Robinson being drafted and being all but an immediate starter, if not an immediate starter on that offense. So
there's expectation lost there, because he was a first rounder, and any catches and any yards that he got is what he was supposed to do.
Mm-hmm. Right, exactly. So with that in mind, I want to say that that puts Tyler Lockett, a rung or two above Corden Robinson. In Seahawk lore. I
think it puts him way, way further up than Corden Robinson. Again, I just go back to key catches and just, again, signature moments in my mind. I got nothing for Corden Robinson. What do you think? Yeah. What do you think about mid '80s? What do you think about Largent, Turner, Craig, and John L. Williams?
John L. Williams.
Maybe Kurt Warner. I don't know.
Maybe even Kurt Warner. Yeah, the original Kurt Warner, with a C. Yeah, I mean, obviously you can't. I mean, the Hall of Famer and Steve Largent. I mean, and the videos that I've seen, that's back in the end of Largent's career is the beginning of my my Seahawk fanhood. So. But what I've seen of Steve Largent, the amazing plays that he made and he did in a whole nother era of football. I don't know if we've even had a receiver even today that's done better than Steve Largent. I mean, you certainly wouldn't put them above Largent, even if it's only out of respect.
Right. Wow. I think the key comes back to that quarterback position, right? Where if you were to line up Craig, Kitna, Warren Moon. Granted, Warren Moon was over 40 when he played for us. all the garbage quarterbacks like Meyer, McGuire, those guys. But if you just line up all the quarterbacks, who can even touch Wilson? Is Hasselbeck maybe?
I'd say in order for me, it goes Russell Wilson, Matt Hasselbeck, Warren Moon.
Okay.
Yeah, Warren Moon did great things for the Seattle Seahawks. You know, even at his age.
I would have liked to seen him at 27 instead of 40.
You know what I mean?
Seahawks. That would have been great.
I remember one game he almost broke I think it might have been against the Raiders. Was it the Raiders? I want to say it was against the Raiders. He almost broke the consecutive completion record. At the time, I believe it was like 17 completions, and I think he stopped at like 15 or something like that. He was going for it. Warren Moon, and then Hasselbeck, obviously, because Hasselbeck, he took us to our first Super Bowl. He was a great quarterback for us, and then obviously Russell Wilson. So that'd be my order.
I'm not going to quibble. I'm not going to quibble because Wilson's number one, and everybody else is number two or lower for me.
Right.
Hey, even though I just sang the praises of Chris Carson getting 104 yards, and he is one of the best running backs we've had as a Seahawk, probably top 5. What are you concerned about the fumbles?
110%. Yes, I am concerned about the fumbles. That 50 some odd yard run that he had on Sunday would have been all for naught and worth not a damn if that ball had stayed in bounds and somebody from Tampa fell on it. It would have been nothing more than a glorified punt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So and the ball back in the opposing team's hands, and who knows what happens after that. We didn't do a very good job of stopping the Tampa offense all day long. That could have been the difference in the game. The fumble on the sideline. I've done my, I always go back and I listen to the pressers. I listen to Pete Carroll and everything. And, holding the ball, not switching the ball to the proper hand to prepare for contact. You know what I mean? Just the little things like that. They mean something. They matter. And it's really blowing my mind how we didn't see this out of Carson until this year, because he was so good for us last year. Is it just happenstance? What is it about this year compared to last year that all of a sudden he can't hold on to the football? I was literally watching after he broke that big run, and I saw that Tampa safety, I think it was a safety, coming up behind him. I'm thinking, oh my God, don't punch the ball out. He's going to punch the ball out. And that's exactly what he did. It's just, thank goodness the momentum from the running back and how the ball got punched out, it went out of bounds. But to answer the question directly, yes, I am very concerned about the fumbles. It looks like he's doing better holding onto the football in traffic, which is great. But it's the open field stuff that we got to worry about now.
That 59-yard run, it was like watching one of those slasher movies where somebody is walking into a house and it's dark. And you're sitting there in the theater and you're like, don't go in there. Don't go in there. And I'm watching that guy catch up on Carson. I'm like, oh, don't let that ball get out from underneath your armpit. Oh no, there's space in between. And yep, he got caught. And that ball popped right out. And it just seems like, why don't you know this? It's a frustrating thing as a fan. I'm sure it's way more frustrating for him and way more frustrating for the team. You've been playing your whole life. How do you not have this figured out? And like you said, he doesn't have a history of this. What's going on? What's going on up the head?
Yeah. No, he's very quickly creating a history of it. But you think what's going on in his head? Was he thinking finally? Like, he's been waiting to bust one of these all year long. Maybe he's thinking finally. I mean, he's got to know. I mean, he is Chris Carson. He lives with himself 24 hours a day. He's got to know that he's not fast enough to outrun the corners and safeties on the Tampa Bay defense for any more than 40 some odd yards, 50 yards or so. He's got to know that someone's going to catch him from behind. Like, he has to know that. So and then all the tricks of the trade that running backs use, you to take a peek up at the big screen if you're facing that direction, look this, turn around if you have to, turn your head real quick, or
Well,
just
move that ball to your left arm. Well,
yeah, you have to be aware of your surroundings. It's all about awareness, and so yeah, again, it's very concerning for me. However, Pete Carroll said it, I think, in the most diplomatic and just kind of just brushing off fashion when they asked about it in the presser, and he said, it didn't affect us. So moving on.
Oh.
Yeah, he said, didn't affect us.
I did not hear that interview. That would have really frustrated me. What about the kicker? What about Jason Myers? You worried about him?
Yes, I am also worried about Jason Myers. It has been said that Jason Myers is a lights out kicker in practice, which is great, which makes me feel, it gives me warm fuzzies. What doesn't give me warm fuzzies is when we miss a field goal and then an extra point and then a field goal to win the game that wasn't a particularly deep or hard field goal to make. He's just slicing them.
Yeah.
He pulled one and sliced the other two, right? So I don't know. I don't know what the guy is. Is he got confidence issues or what? Why can't we find the kicker, Abe?
Because kickers, here's why. Because kickers are like closers in baseball. They're only as good until they're like you said, confidence, until that's gone. Once it's gone, you got to get rid of them, in my opinion. But the problem is, unlike baseball, you can't really just go get a new kicker. I mean, you can go find a new closer. You just pull one up from the minor leagues, and hopefully one works. There's no good kickers out there on the open market. There's, so we're stuck with them. And I think it's all up in the head. Same as Chris Carson's fumbles.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to agree, especially the kicker, right? I mean, because you have one job. The only job is to go out there and swing your foot aggressively, and and keep the ball in between the hash marks. That's basically all you got to do, right? Yeah. And as simple as you can make it sound, it's not easy, but it's your only job, And I'm sure that Myers can go out there and kick that ball from 49, 52 yards, probably 10 times, and probably make it 9 out of 10 times. But when you only get one shot in the game, you got to go out there with steel nerves. And if you can't make these kind of kicks at home where the crowd is quiet, there's not a bunch of noise, not a bunch of ruckus. You can't make these kicks, in that situation. How are we going to take this kicker into the playoffs? Because if we can't catch these Niners and we get to the playoffs, we're going on the road. When we need a field goal to win a game, in a hostile environment, I just don't feel comfortable.
Speaking of discomfort, the Seahawks made a questionable pickup, and I say questionable in the respect that some of my friends question it, some of the media question it, and then others think this is a great pickup, and that's in Josh Gordon, the former New England Patriot. Do we need this guy?
Very good question. Do we need him? I mean, if we go based on our results so far this season, the answer would almost be an obvious no to me. However, it does present a particular, opportunity to just make ourselves a little more dynamic on the offensive side. My only fear, and I truly hope, I almost don't even want to say it because I don't want to conjure it up. I don't want to speak it into existence. But my only fear is that going out and getting a player like Flash Gordon is like kind of what we did with Jimmy Graham, kind of what we did with Percy Harvin, where you get a guy. Are we going to try and go scheme for him now? And I don't want to see that, because when we've done that in the past, it hasn't worked out well for us. If we stop playing our game for this one player, it doesn't bode well. And so I'm hoping that this does with Josh Gordon coming in here, is he just comes in, does his job, he falls in line, in the rotation, and is only, he gets the target if he's the most open guy on the field. If not, we're not going to force anything to him. We're not going to scheme anything to him. Just get the ball to the open guy on the field like we've been doing. So far, it's been Tyler Lockett most often than not. DK when it works out. And if Gordon can get open, we'll give him the ball. But I don't want to see a bunch of scheming stuff for him, because I think that's just going to just disrupt the harmony that we have on offense right now.
Neither Jerron Brown nor David Moore got a catch yesterday. You add the two of them up, and they have 24 total catches. Is Pete Carroll kind of done with those guys? Is that why we picked up Josh Gordon?
That's a good question. I looked at Jerron Brown, where he's had a couple of games where he was, I wouldn't say instrumental, but he, had a couple of good games, caught a couple of touchdown passes a few weeks ago. David Moore, yeah, it's tough. Pete Carroll always sings praises of these guys. So it's really tough to get a beat on what the real, the climate is in the locker room or in the front office, more like, what these guys' future is with the team. But you have to think that somebody's got to be, getting close to the chopping block, or maybe on their way, to, not being a Seahawk anymore when you go out and get a guy like Josh Gordon.
Yeah, and you brought up on your podcast, Short Yardage, out there on Podbean. Everybody check him out. He's the SoCal Seahawk, Rob English. you mentioned Ed Dickson. We're gonna have to cut some players if we add Josh Gordon and Ed Dickson. And I'm just curious if it's probably Malik Turner, right? He's probably the first one to go. But
yeah, how many receivers do we have on the roster now with adding Gordon? I mean, that's
one. So let's see: Lockett, Metcalf, Brown, Moore, Malik Turner, Ursua, and Jennings. Oh my God, that's 7 receivers. You're adding an 8th.
Right? Did you even say Metcalf?
I did. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So that's a lot of receivers to have on a roster. So yeah, someone's going to be the unfortunate soul there. I
assume you keep the rookies, right?
Yeah, I assume so. Right? Would you probably keep the rookies on? I think maybe Jerron Brown. I guess if I think about it objectively, maybe Jerron Brown might be the casualty.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think when you bring in Dixon, when you bring in Gordon, you're going to have to get rid of. I don't know. I think I like Jerron Brown better than I like David Moore, but this all comes down to who does Pete like better, right?
Right. Yeah. If only our opinions, weigh just a little bit more in the eyes of the Seattle front office.
Hey, we're talking about all the good things on the team and where we're adding improvements to the offense. We need to also talk about a huge problem, and that's that this defense, the 25th ranked Seahawks defense, it didn't look good yesterday. We only stopped the Buccaneers on 3 drives. They scored on every other drive. We're, like I said, we're ranked 25th in total yardage and 22nd in points allowed. Do we panic? Is it time to panic? Is this defense not good enough to get us to the promised land?
Well, there's the old adage that they say, defense wins championships. We would swear by that, by our Super Bowl team. But there's often times where some of these teams that are going deep in the playoffs and winning Super Bowl trophies don't have great defenses. But they have, great offenses. The greatest show on turf is one that, that did not have a very good defense at all, but you just couldn't stop their offense. So, so there's that. And I don't think that we are as good as the greatest show on turf, but, should we be concerned? Absolutely. We've got to be able to make some stops. I want to still believe that we have more, we're going to develop a better chemistry, on defense. Really the pass rush. I think the pass rush is our biggest concern right now. We're not getting any pressure on any quarterback in any game on any down. And that is why we're getting cut up in the secondary. if we could just get a little bit more pressure, just get these quarterbacks off their spot a little more often, I think it would make us look so much better in the secondary. Basically what we're doing is just keeping the lid on top. We're not giving up anything deep, which is good.
Well, now that Tedrick Thompson's gone due to injury.
Right. Yeah, we're doing better there. But it's not keeping these offenses from being able to matriculate the ball down the field. So
what I saw was LJ. I saw LJ Collier in the game, but I didn't see any stats on his stat line, and I'm starting to wonder: was that a mistake? Is that a player that's not going to be able to? He filled in for Puna Ford, if I remember right. Is Rasheem Green? Are some of these defensive line draft picks just not panning out, and that's maybe an indictment on Snyder, the GM?
Well, you know me. I am a long way away from down talking Mr. John Snyder, because I mean he has been instrumental in this team, becoming who they are today. But that being said, with the players that we have, we have a couple of I want to say big names. But with Ezekiel Ansah, who hasn't seemed to be, who's been underperforming, with Jadeveon Clowney, who on the whole has underperformed. We've got Jaron Reed back. We've got some players there on the line, and with this still not being able to produce, do we have to look at the coaching? Do we have to look at the scheme? Is that what comes up next?
Oh, that's a good point. Maybe Ken Norton needs to figure something else. And I just want to interrupt because you mentioned something about Jadeveon Clowney. I'd like to throw this out there. He's the number 3 defensive lineman in being double teamed in the NFL. I really feel like it's more on the other folks that are not helping him out. He's doing, in my opinion, he's doing his job.
Yeah, and that's true. I guess when I look at I guess when you don't see the actual stats tallying, it gives us the impression that someone's not performing. But yeah, he's drawing attention, and there's something to be said for that. You're drawing double teams, so you're right. If he's drawing double teams, then somebody else should be getting free, right?
Somebody's got to help him. Yeah,
somebody's got to get through. Now, we're typically not a big blitzing defense. Yeah. So we are oftentimes really only sending 4, and we're not getting through. We've got to figure out some way to get through these opposing offensive lines so we can get some pressure on these quarterbacks. And if we can do that, I think we'll see a paradigm shift in our defensive production.
Something's got to change. And I know they just brought in a guy from Detroit named Quandre Diggs. Yesterday we saw Bradley McDougald and Marcus Blair start at safety. They both played 100% of the snaps, by the way. What do you make of Quandre Diggs? Who's he going to come in for, and who should he come in for?
It's seeming like each game is you can expect something new for who they put out there personnel wise. I think Quandre Diggs is going to come out there, and are they going to do like some sort of kind of safety rotation? I'm quite curious. I'm not sure what they plan on doing there. Because you got Lano Hill, who is supposed to be getting more snaps. Marquise Blair, who's been playing well. So, where does Quandre Diggs come into that fold? I can't really say, but I'm very interested to see, because he's come to the team with high praises, and we could use somebody back there who could be a difference maker.
Yeah, I don't want Marquise Blair to go back to the bench. I'd like the freshman to take that job and a rookie to take that job and make it his own. So, in my opinion, maybe it's Bradley McDougald that has to look at maybe playing some nickelback or playing third safety.
Yeah, and that's confusing for me too, because I think there was a little stretch of time where we thought that McDougald was our new guy at safety.
Oh yeah,
last year,
last year.
Right, he made a lot of great plays last year. But he did get banged up this year. Maybe that he's, maybe he's, still reeling from that. I mean, I don't know, or what the deal is going on with him. So just as soon as we think we got something, we don't. But yeah, no, I agree. Marquise Blair is playing well. And again, I think we'll change our opinion about a lot of these guys if we can, again, just get the pass rush going. If we get the pass rush going, I think our guys will look really good. Just a side note, when you look at San Francisco's defense right now, who with a little bit of different look to their scheme is not too different than what we used to do. I see a lot of pressure on the quarterbacks, which allows those defensive backs to turn their heads, sooner than later. And they're getting interceptions. Richard Sherman's getting picks just like he did when he was on our defense because he knows he can turn his head. When you can't turn your head, you're going based off what you see in the eyes of the receiver when he looks back, and it's just hard to do.
All right. Well, let's talk about those San Francisco 49ers because I listened to your podcast on Saturday. And oh my God, you kept saying, so this is a Seahawks podcast, and I'm going to talk about the 49ers. So we're going to do it. We're going to talk about the 49ers. They're our game of the year, right? This Monday?
To this point, yes. This is going to be the game of the year. I mean, season as far as the whole NFL is concerned. At this point, this is the game of the year. I suppose maybe the New England Baltimore game was a big deal, but this is huge. There hasn't been a 49er Seahawk game this big since the NFC Championship game.
Right.
And this is huge because if the 49ers win this game, I think they are runaway with the division. However, if we can knock these guys off of their pedestal, that's going to change the landscape of the entire NFC. So absolutely, the Niners look like juggernauts out there. I was looking at their numbers. Not only are they great on defense, but their numbers are high on offense as well. So it's going to be huge. But a rivalry game, division game. They've been all good games recently. Dominated by Seattle mostly. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this one.
You are correct. The 49ers. They're number one in defense and number two in scoring defense. And on offense, they're both number two in rushing and scoring offense. That's a complete team. And I'm curious what we need to do to take these guys down. Do we need to get them into a shootout? You mentioned earlier we need to get a better pass rush. But what is it that we need to do that you've seen out of these 49ers? Where's the weakness? What can we exploit?
What I'm thinking is it's the mobile quarterback factor. The Kyler Murray was able to do damage against that defense.
Yes, he was last Thursday. Yeah.
Right. And I'm thinking that Russell, this might be one of those games where Russell might have to go back and try and do a little bit of old school Russell Wilson. To get them thinking about Russell because that pass rush is coming. The pass rush is coming, and if Russell has to throw hot, he's either gonna have to check stuff down or throw some mighty dangerous passes. And we certainly don't want number 25 on that Niner defense getting any picks because he's gonna talk and run his mouth as he does for the reasons we used to love him, or we still love him, I think. So Russell's going to have to, this is all going to be based on Russell Wilson's performance. Not that it hasn't been all year, but we've been a complete offense this year with Russell at the helm as the captain. But, this is going to come down to Russell completely, I think. Defensively, I think we're just going to have to just grab on and try to stay on the bull as long as we can. I don't know that just given consideration to what we've done, throughout the season up to this point, there's no reason to suggest that we're going to be able to just shut down this 49er offense.
I'm very, very similar in your mind frame about that. Offensively, I saw a lot of really good things yesterday. I saw slant passes. I saw screen passes. I saw, the long bomb. I saw everything. We threw everything in at them. And if we had Josh Gordon, that gives us yet another yet another target. And I think if we can mix it up, get that kind of balance between the run game and the pass game, and just keep them, like you said, on their heels with a mobile quarterback who might, do a 3 or 4 quarterback draws, we're going to frustrate them on defense. I'm super worried about our defense and stopping them, though, because we didn't stop Alvin Kamara. We didn't stop Lamar Jackson. Running teams have given us a problem.
Absolutely. Yeah, no. Like you said, we're in agreement on as far as our defense is concerned. But no, you got to remember, Abe. It sounds good to be able to to throw these the slants and the deep balls and having the good mix. I agree. But that 49er defense comes fast. And so you're not gonna. I'm not expecting Russell to have a whole lot of time to sit back there and wait for those longer routes to develop. We might have a few opportunities here and there. But I think the short game is going to probably be more prevalent, and you can scheme against that. When you're playing the short game, you're playing with the defenders have everything in front of them. And in a tip ball can go the other way for 6. It's just things like that. It's that they're fast on defense. They're opportunistic. We have to play perfect. And so I think maybe some misdirection to maybe take advantage of their aggressiveness. But I think Russell is going to have to find holes to use his feet to keep them honest. And then hopefully we can I'm worried about our center. You know what I mean? Like, is Russell gonna have time? Is Russell gonna have time to do what we did yesterday? That's the big thing. If he has time, oh yeah, absolutely. But the time in the pocket is gonna be the key, and Russell on his feet or with his feet is gonna make the difference. Maybe not actually running the ball past line of scrimmage, maybe just doing what Russell does, just creating time. And finding opportunity to throw the ball downfield, that would be, perfect as well. But it's going to be Russell doing Russell.
An MVP performance is necessary, is what you're saying.
An MVP performance is going to be necessary to win this game next Monday night.
Great. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us this week on Seattle Sports Union Talking Hawks. I want to thank Rob English, the SoCal Seahawk, for joining us yet again. And I'd like to direct everybody to your podcast, Rob. Where can they find your weekly podcast?
Absolutely, yes. As always, you can find my podcast, Short Yardage, at shortyardage.podbean.com. You can add the RSS feed to your favorite podcast app like Apple Podcasts. Also, catch the link on www.seattlesportsunion.com.
Speaking of SeattleSportsUnion.com, check out all our great articles there as well. Like us on Facebook and check out all our great tweets at Seattle Sports U. All right. Have a great day, everybody.
Go Hawks.